Start. Ready for start.
Sorry.
Dundee, where I study, so away from these two, and to my university. And there's one track that's about half an hour away from where I live, and they allowed me to store my race runner there, but they have crazy opening times. It didn't fit with my university schedule, but I managed to train from 4 times a week, and then 5 times a week, then 6 times a week throughout the winter. On my own, like there was nobody else training at all.
In the snow. In the snow.
They chased.
So it was outdoor in the snow and in the slot and rain and wind and darkness. So you were feeling really tough.
No, but it was good. There was one person who basically looks after the track, and I don't think he liked me because I would just come before it opened, and I'd sometimes come almost before it shut and make him extend his opening hours, and he was like, no, I
don't think he expected to have to do any work in the winter.
Wasn't, no.
And actually you made him do some work.
And I turned up so much, and I caught him doing just like sitting there and doing nothing.
I've done the same with my winter racing time.
And so there's no recognition of race running in Dundee, and actually it made me really angry. They're one of my disability agents for the government. I said, look, I'm doing race running. This is an amazing sport. And he said, oh no, I'm not interested in developing that. There's boccia and there's swimming, and that's what we're going to do. And I was like, well, I'm going to train, I'm going to be an international athlete, and then come back and say Dundee did nothing.
I think the other thing that Hannah won't realise until she leaves university is that one of the things that we're always saying to our students is if you can show dedication and resilience, you're actually better placed than any of the students who are coming through and they just don't think about it. And I think for me, watching Hannah do the race running, I mean, I am an academic, so my first thought is always, are you doing enough study? But I think over the last year I've just thought, no, this is really good because it provides proof and demonstration of something that we know Hannah's more likely to need. All of our students are going to need it.
It supports my studies.
It supports your study. It does support your study.
And sometimes, managing a mainstream education system with a significant disability is kind of a tough burden to have on your shoulders, always to prove that you are causing a minimum trouble to the pack.
I think the other thing
that is true.
The other thing I'd like to record is that when Hannah was young, we went up to an island in the Highlands of Scotland, and there was a big green in Ralsei, and you ran across that green and it made you giggle, and because it was flat and it was safe, and if you fell over you didn't hurt yourself. And I hadn't heard you do that until you got back until you got onto a race run for the first time.
I couldn't run after that because I grew up in Tournament.
So it was like adolescence, just sort of, there was Hannah wanted to run, and then adolescence happened. The school system in no way was prepared to facilitate any kind of exploration of what that would mean. And then when you got onto the RaceRunner, it was just that. What I am aware of is that if somebody's mood is being lifted because they're engaged in physical activity, they are much happier as they go through university. Because university is not easy. And you know, if you're already going into it with a physical disability for which there's very little allowance,
it's a release from a lot of things.
It is.
Yes. This is quite a new thing because I kind of looked at it from my old perspective, like I can't run side by side, and now I decided I'd do a 10k with my friend because they're my new flatmates and they're really sporty, and I was almost faster than her, and we're going to go out running when I get back to university a lot. I predict, definitely.
That's a
It
good
was
thing.
great. It was really good. It was like, I'll sprint and you have to run after me.
That's my job.
Yeah, that's
Whoever finished last.
Må vi komme ind?
I mean, I think when Hannah took up race running, she was already becoming a more independent young woman. So this came just at the right time because it gave her something to be independent for. And for example, the car, you know, she'd learned to drive, but you weren't very keen on driving. And then I said, well, do you know, I'm not going to be able to drive you around to all these events, and so she started driving herself. She started learning how to dismantle the RaceRunner so she could get it in and out of the car on her own with this frame. I said we've made a frame because it's hard for her to lift.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
So I think one of the good things about something like race running is that if children have big imaginations and they're never in a position where they can live some of that out, then they stop imagining their future, and then they start putting limits on themselves about what they can and what they can't do, because what's the point trying that? I'm never going to be able to do it. And I think in terms of education, that is possibly the worst thing that can happen. Constantly being able to imagine that there's something over the hill that you can work towards and is worth working towards. And race running's great because it doesn't do that.
I think you don't.